Welcome to the Trust Factor Radio, bringing you interviews and insights to unlock the power of the subconscious mind to create authority, credibility, and trust. With your host, the Authority Architect and best-selling author, Neil Howe.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today's guest is Scott Bergman, and he helps discerning homeowners get and enjoy fresh, revitalized living spaces through superior painting and wall covering, and by delivering service that shines from start to finish. Now, Scott Bergman is the founder and the president of Brushstrokes Painting, a service-based painting company that works throughout the Denver metro area and Boulder as well. As a longtime entrepreneur who has launched and run several successful businesses, Scott founded Brushstrokes 6 years ago after he relocated to Colorado from the East Coast because he believes Colorado homeowners and business owners deserve a painting company that delivers personalized service and superior quality work. He noticed a gap in the market, and thus Brushstrokes was born. Brushstrokes Painting does high-end painting and wall covering, interior and exterior, for luxury homes and businesses such as hotels, restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. And today we're going to focus on the residential side of the business, and Scott's going to tell us what's unique about Brushstrokes and what he offers discerning homeowners who want superior painting and premium service. Scott Bergman, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil. Nice to meet you. Nice to be here.
Excellent. Well, it seems like you have had a good past in business. You've had a lot of experiences, and now you've moved to Colorado over the last years, and you were looking for a business to start here. Give us a little bit more of your background and your journey to beginning Brushstrokes Painting.
Well, I've been a serial entrepreneur, as they say, my entire life. I graduated college with a degree in restaurant management and marketing and worked for several corporate restaurant chains, eventually starting my own restaurants, and owned and operated 4 restaurants in the New York area, and also did some food manufacturing businesses. I owned a commercial bakery. I owned a Latin American foods manufacturer. We were the first to the frozen food case Cuban sandwich company. I was an executive recruiter and owned an executive search firm. So basically everything I've done in my life has been a service-oriented, customer service, customer-centric, customer-focused type of business. And when I moved to Denver about 8.5 years ago, I was looking to buy a business or start a business and stumbled upon the painting market, and the construction was beginning to really boom in 2012 and 13. And so I saw a gap in the marketplace where that focus on service really was missed. A lot of painting companies and painting and wall cover contractors talk about their quality, and they simply talk about service. But we live, eat, and breathe service here at Brushstrokes.
So from your background, it seems like you've been in the service industry for a long time, dealing with people. And I know most of the successful, well-known companies in the United States really have service at their core. So it really means a lot to your clientele, obviously, to have that proper service. So, but speaking of that clientele, I know you have a commercial division of your company as well, but we want to talk about the residential mainly today. So who exactly is it that you help?
Well, we help what I would call the real discerning customer in the residential side. Somebody who maybe has a more upscale home or has wonderful taste, looking to improve their living and improve their feeling and improve their living surroundings. Somebody who really treats their home as their castle, somebody who feels it's their safe haven, somebody who really enjoys, let's just say, home decor. They really enjoy the feeling in which they live in, or are trying to create that space for something that might be old and tired, or they just moved in and didn't like what existed. But that discerning customer who really enjoys their living space.
So these people are really looking for something special. Like you said, it's a castle or a safe haven. It's not a home that they are going to be selling and moving into another one in a couple of years. Are these people that have put their roots down, and basically they're making their lifetime home that they're going to be able to pass down to family members?
Sure, that certainly can be the case. I think the real key is that they enjoy that space.
Mm-hmm.
And time may or may not necessarily always be, because in a transient community like Denver, where people do move in a lot, some of them don't stay, or some of them move for careers. They may be going, but while they're here, and as long as they're in that home and that their castle, they really want to enjoy that space.
So what is it then that these people are looking for that might be different from just an average person that needs their house painted?
Well, I think that there are a couple of both concerns or just maybe a change. So lots of people are looking for, let's call it, a change in their life, or may have a change in their life. Maybe they've retired. Maybe they've become a widow. Maybe they've had a divorce. Maybe they're pregnant and it's an expected mother. Maybe they became an empty nester. So maybe their lives have been affected in some fashion. And the reason for this change of let's call it scope of their home, or change of feeling, change of environment, is going to make them feel better, or they're welcoming a new baby, or somebody's moving in, or whatever their particular situation is, they want to welcome them into their quote castle, into their home, and this is an important step for them. So I think those are some of the types of clients we find we service really well, and we try and really dedicate, me in particular, I try and dedicate my time into understanding them, gaining their trust, helping them understand and focus on the scope of the project, what they're looking to achieve, and how we can really help them achieve those goals.
Now, from knowing a little bit about your background, you have done a lot of these things yourself. You've built your home from scratch. You've had a lifestyle that affords you, a luxury home and all the trimmings that you would like with that as well. So you can really put yourself in your customer's shoes and kind of understand what it is that they are looking for.
That is true, Neil. I definitely had, back when I lived in New York, I had several homes. I had what I'll call our family and marital residence. I had a ski home up in Vermont. I had a house in the east end of Long Island, and that was sort of my dream home. And I built that home from scratch. I hired an architect. I did the design myself. I picked the colors. I picked the paint, the wall cover, the furniture, the lighting. I picked the GC. So I was really involved, and I have been involved in all of those stages throughout the home purchase or home building in my personal life. And I've really enjoyed those experiences as I've become better and better at running and operating a painting company here in Denver. And I really am able to transfer those skills and those thoughts and that taste and that design, and what I would say is my very keen eye for quality and home decor.
Mm. So, knowing all these things, having gone through it before, you've got that good understanding of what people are looking for. But what are some of the problems or concerns that they might have that could come up as they are looking to get their house finished or repainted?
I think there are probably four categories, and I'll take some of the pitfalls of the construction industry, work up to what I find to be more of the particular bigger one or bigger choice. And the first one is reliability. In construction, if we find that generally the construction industry has a lot of unreliable employees or a lot of unreliable people, and we go to great lengths to try our painters out, train our painters, start them on small projects, start them in small areas where we can really see how good they are, what kind of quality they deliver, how much training they need. In my past life, I did so much training, especially in the food business, that we've taken those skills and we've brought them to brushstrokes. And so we continue to train and develop our painters. So reliability, I think, is key. And one of the other ones is, does my painter get me as the client? Does he understand me? Is he listening to me? Can I trust him? Does he communicate well? And so I think some of those are pitfalls that we solve right up front. First and foremost, I am point of contact and on-site, working with the client from start to finish. I have a 40-year superintendent. He's been 40 years in the painting industry, and he also helps run the field with our painters. And one of us is on site almost every other day, certainly at any given call, so that we give you our phone numbers, we give you our email addresses, we contact you at the beginning and sometimes at the end of every day, so we can follow up with you to see how things are going from your side. And so I think that's something that even as an owner, I do on a regular basis, pretty much with every residential client. So those are some of the potential problems. The want to address the communication piece in terms of me. I think, again, I understand our customer. I've been that customer, and I think you can trust me. I'm a very good listener and really can pay attention to what your specific needs are. We go to very long lengths and deep lengths to protect your home, to find out during the discovery process what are potential items that might be problems that the customer should move themselves, the customer should put away. We have to take extra special care in protecting, wrapping, moving, etc. So those are some pieces we communicate early with. And then the final one, which I think is always the biggest and lends itself to either an incredible finish or a wonderful, happy customer and a client who really gets exactly what they want, is color. And if you're repainting your house or painting the house the same color, maybe it just needs a refresh, that's always easy. But for the client that is looking for something new and something different, we have to treat that in a totally different way. And we treat color really as a specific choice and a specific process to go through that, so we make sure we get it right.
Well, obviously, they're really important things. Being understood as a customer, a client, is one of the most important things. You've got to make sure that you're giving them what they want in order for them to be happy, and listening to them, like you said, and understanding exactly what they want and being able to speak their language and have that final project turn out the way it's supposed to. You've got to have lots of happy customers that way. But tell me a little bit more about the painting part of it. Just, what kind of paints, what kind of finishes and wall coverings are people looking for?
Sure. So I think from a color perspective, there's such a large range and such a large choice for customers today. They can go to Sherwin-Williams, a PPG, Benjamin Moore. They can go to Home Depot. They can go to Lowe's. And there's so many brands out there. And so first and foremost, we only use the finest quality painting or paint products. We use Benjamin Moore. We use Sherwin-Williams. We use PPG, which is Pittsburgh Paint. And those are our three main products. They offer the best warranties, the best quality, the best coverage, the longest lasting. And so we find those products to be the best. Specifically within those products, we only use either low VOC or even these days, mostly zero VOC. And if you're not familiar with what VOC is, it's volatile organic compounds. And that's the off gas that comes when the paint dries and it comes out of the paint. So those low and zero VOC products in particular, they give off lower smell, they dry quicker. So you don't have this lingering kind of horrifying smell and kind of toxic air around your house while we're there. So those products are not only becoming more and more used in the industry. I believe maybe it's next year. I think even 2021 is a big step toward even eliminating almost all paints that have VOC in it, or at least close.
Yeah, well, for me, that's a very important thing for me. I'm very eco-friendly and everything that I do. I try and get all the chemicals and everything out of my home that I can. So that would be a very important aspect for me. It may not be for others. But let me ask you this, Scott. When people are wanting you to do a job for them, do they generally know exactly what it is that they want, or are they coming to you for your expertise and advice as well?
I think that's an always interesting question, and it's probably a total mixed bag. Some people just, we're painting a house in Boulder right now. We did both the interior and the exterior. The house was built 18 years ago, was a brand new home, and hadn't been painted in 18 years. And for the most part, the homeowner picked the same colors. They got rid of one color on the outside and made it two colors instead of three. The inside, they did a slightly brighter wall color than they had before, but generally it was really easy in terms of the color consultation. But we do find some of the discerning customers we serve who are really looking for some guidance in choosing color. So we have a part of the company where I do color consultation. And if it's just simple, sort of matching what's there or updating what's there, we don't charge for that service. But if there's, an actual color consultation where it's several hours, we do charge for that, but it's a minimal fee. And the minimal fee just depends on the size of the home and the number of colors. But we do offer color consultation, and we come in and I usually bring a fan deck of various colors from a few manufacturers, and we visit the home. We also do testing, so we'll put a 3x3 or a 4x4 test of a few colors on different walls. We allow that to dry and then sit in the house for a day or two, so the client can see that paint in various lighting situations. Because if you didn't know, and a lot of customers don't know, but lighting has a major effect on paint. So you might look at it under a fluorescent light in the kitchen. It may look one way. You might put the same color in a different sheen, maybe in a gloss or a semi-gloss or a satin versus a flat in a window with a lot of sunshine. You may see it in the evening under a hi-hat, light, which may change it again. So it's important, we feel, that the customer really kind of live with the paint and get a feeling for it as they're choosing the colors. And same sort of thing with wall covering. We can get samples and bring in the samples and take them up on various parts of the home to see how they feel about it, put it next to the paint that we're testing on the wall so they can really get a feel for what the end product's going to look like.
Now, you said at the beginning you have a very discerning eye for this. You know what's going to work and you know what's not going to work. Are there times where you've had to say, listen, I like your idea, but I don't think this is going to work in your home because of all those kinds of things that you've just mentioned?
Yes, for sure. And some people have a very, very specific, I love this color. Or there was 3 years ago, and I can't remember offhand, but there was I'll call it a beigey gray, kind of a taupe-like gray color. And it was put in Architectural Magazine in some, beautiful home on the cover. And it really became all the rage. And everybody that we were going to talk to was like, oh, I want this color, that color, that color. And, and it was the same all over the place. And I finally started to say, we're putting this color on hundreds of homes. Would you want to try something, that might be in the family or a little different or something, in a couple of years, you're probably not going to want to walk into all your friends or people that you don't know, walk into a house and see the same color you have on your wall. So we bring up some of those points, but in general, I think that the test is really the key, and putting different colors in a color range or trying to match certain colors with certain other colors and seeing what they look like and feel like is really an important step. And I think we do that pretty well.
So painting, I understand, but you talk about wall coverings as well, and then different finishes. What other specialties do you do other than just regular painting?
Well, I think what's been really terrific for me as a business owner, and specifically in the painting industry, is we started in the commercial sector versus the residential sector here in Denver. And in doing so, we were exposed to a lot of new techniques. And some of those are, faux painting is not new to residential, but it's kind of was new in the commercial world. Murals, both artistic murals and artists that would come into, say, a restaurant and paint a really incredible mural or a huge wall that became a focal point in a restaurant. Chalkboards or dry erase boards, which now can be painted on your walls. So if you have an office or you have kids or, you want to put a calendar up, you can actually paint it on the wall. And so we've really tried a lot of these products out in the commercial world, and we're starting to find and make suggestions for our clients in the residential world. They may have a playroom where they want to put a dry erase board or a chalkboard for the kids, or they have an office and they work out of their home and they want to put either a dry erase board or a chalkboard in the office and they want to paint it right on the wall. We can do that sort of thing for them. And so we've really enjoyed offering some of those options to our residential clients, and they've really been engaging.
Scott, what are some of the misconceptions that people might have about a painting company and what they deliver? And, first of all, what are they and what makes you different from some of these other companies out there?
Misconceptions. I think that one of the misconceptions is that, paint is just paint. And it's a let's call it a commodity. Maybe it's cheaper, or maybe it's something that somebody can just come into my house and put it on the wall and that's it and we're done. And so I think that because we try and really work with discerning customers, because service that shines is our motto, we try and match our service and our services with the clients that we work for. And so a misconception, I guess, is that you can pick up the phone and you can call Home Advisor, or you can do Angie's List, or you can call the neighbor and you see a sign as to who did that. And so most of our business comes through referral. And in addition to referrals, it comes through, introductions to our website where we have some of our really beautiful projects. And so I think the misconception is that you come in, you paint, you leave, and it's done. And as we've discussed over the last number of minutes, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. There are a lot of parts of the job that's not painting related. And so I think those are important pieces to get taken care of and work on in the beginning.
Well, let's talk about protection, because this is a very important point for all people, is that their home is protected and nothing gets damaged during the painting process. And then, of course, you've got insurance to think about as well. I know that you take this very seriously. Talk to me a little bit about some of the things that you have in place to ensure the customer is always protected.
Interesting you ask about insurance. And once again, since we started on the commercial side, a lot of painting contractors just carry either $1 million in liability or $2 million in product coverage. We have $2 million in each category of liability coverage. We have a $2 million umbrella. We have $1 million in workers' compensation insurance. We have, for the normal residential customer, we have way more insurance that will protect them from any angle, mainly because we have a big commercial business that those products are needed to even bid projects and work on projects in the commercial world. So that's the insurance side. From a personal and valuables and personal property, we, as I sort of intimated a little earlier, we really go to great lengths to discuss and look and watch and evaluate each home on its own and see what some of those pitfalls might be. Are we moving product? Are we moving their valuables? Are we moving their artwork? Are they moving it? Are they having a mover come in and move things out? What personal items are going to be in the way? What could possibly get tripped over? Right? Is there a bad transition on the carpeting to the hardwood floor or to the tile floor? Is that something that somebody might fall and might trip and get hurt? We evaluate that. We put down tape. We put down plastic. We put down paper to protect over certain things that we notice while we're walking the home. And we have a checklist that we go through as we're walking, so we don't miss any of those things while we're walking each individual house, because as you know, almost every home is different.
Yes, definitely. Every home is different. And can you give us an example maybe of a couple of clients that stick out in your mind? What they wanted done, maybe what issues you came across while doing their home, and how you were able to overcome some of those things and give them that final project that they desired.
We had a woman who had gone through a divorce. This was about 3 years ago. She really had a beautiful home. I really was very impressed with it. Beautiful wall covering. She had a beautiful mural. Her kitchen design was really spectacular. And she unfortunately went through a divorce, and she really wanted a change. And she was staying in the house, and she had her kids. And she did something which I thought was really terrific, because obviously that divorce didn't just affect the parents, but it affected the children. And so she sat down with each child and went through what they would change in their rooms. And, kids have very vivid imaginations. So anyway, not to really belabor that point, but each child had its own, color choices and its own, his or her own style in which they wanted to create the room. So I had to sit down with the mom and go through each one of those rooms and really, really understand what the parent wanted, what the child wanted, and come up with both a color scheme and a process in how we were going to paint each one of the rooms in the house. So both, because they were living there, so they weren't moving out. We weren't painting before they were there, but they were going to be actively living in the home. So those were a couple of steps we really needed to take to both prior to starting the project, kids who were sleeping where, which rooms we were doing first. The mom didn't really know what she wanted to do with her bedroom, so we did an extensive color test. I think we put on like 8 or 10 different colors in various walls, and picked a new wall cover. And so there were a lot of steps in the process. And once we nailed down all of those specifics, there was a pretty large kind of, let's call it a great room. And she was renovating that great room, putting in a home entertainment system and so forth. And so we really had to devise a plan on how to target that with the painting and what stages. And again, what helped us dramatically when there's construction involved as opposed to just painting and wall covering when there are other trades, our commercial experience really shines and comes into play because we're constantly working on both small and large commercial projects. So we really understand, when the electrician's coming, when the plumber's coming, how they are involved, what we need to paint at what stage of the process. And we had a wonderful job, and things turned out well. There were a couple of pitfalls, as usual, on the job, and the kids wanted to change their minds and some things like that. But we just accommodated and figured out ways to make those changes, and we moved on.
Well, excellent. And from that story, we really get a picture of every job is different. It's unique. It's not a cookie cutter business where you're just going in, painting walls and, you're done. It's something that you're delivering a service that is going to be different for every person, which I think is really important to understand. Scott, can you give us a lesson that you might have learned early on in business? I know you've got a wealth of experience, but what did you learn early on that still sticks with you and how you do business today?
I think as a young businessman, and I owned my first restaurant when I was 26, and I knew how to run a restaurant from a customer perspective, from a food quality perspective, menu development, construction, even in those my early 20s. But the one thing that I really found when I bought my first restaurant was how important, as a 26 and 27-year-old, listening was a skill that was truly acquired. And there's, people use the term actively listening versus just listening. And I discovered that early on in my 20s, probably my mid to late 20s. And I think that has stuck with me with every business I've ever owned. Is sort of my boss when I was training and learning the executive search business. For the same reason, I left the restaurant and food industry and went into the executive recruiting business. And I went to work for somebody for a while and then started my own firm. And I was doing a lot of talking and not a lot of active listening. And I remember after my first day of training, my then boss was critiquing my day, and he said, "I have one theme for you. It's shut up and listen." And so I really took that to heart. And I think that in the painting business is just so important. In construction, there are so many details, there's so many parts, and paying attention to those little details and the important aspects of what each client is looking for, and then mapping out a course after you've paid attention to those pieces is really something that we take to heart.
Well, that is great advice. I know it is a skill that many people need. Not everybody has. So being able to really listen to your clients and give them what they want is what they want from you. Now, Scott, we have covered quite a bit today, but if there's one thing that we haven't covered about your business, whether it's painting or something else that you offer, what might that be?
Maybe scheduling might be something we didn't talk about. I think that when you do a commercial job, you're at the mercy of the superintendent and their scheduling of all the trades. When you're doing a residential home, you're doing a residential job, you are at the mercy of one particular client and their schedule. And so we do get a lot of phone calls around the holidays from sort of another week, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and then the Christmas, Hanukkah holidays and New Year's. And we have a large company with a lot of manpower, but scheduling is really important, especially when you think about the warmer weather months when you're doing exterior painting. You are also have one other partner, and that's the weather. So scheduling is an important item to discuss when you're talking to your clients, because some people need it done like in a week, or I'm moving, they call us, they find us, I'm moving in a week, can you come and paint our house? Sometimes I can find a way around our schedule. Sometimes I can move, a man or two to do the most important parts of that house, maybe their bedrooms, so that when they move in, they can have a place to sleep. Sometimes we can't. But on the weather side, I think it's important to discuss that, because we do get thunderstorms in the afternoon. We get 80-degree days and then 20-degree days where it snows.
That's right. It seems you just had one of those massive swings in the last month or so where it was.
We certainly did.
Does that cause any issues with the paint?
It's havoc. It doesn't cause, quote, an issue with the paint, but it does, in order to avoid any issues with the paint, there are certain temperatures at certain types of paint you can apply it in. So generally, the most often used exterior paints might be able to be applied when the surface temperature, not the air temperature, but the surface temperature is above 35 or 36 degrees. Other ones need 45 or 50 degrees to be applied. So we have to watch that, and specifically like this time of year, when we had that havoc with the weather, we were doing the exterior of that home in Boulder, and we actually, just pulled off. We worked on the inside and did the interior of the house. And yesterday we went back and started to work on the outside. But things like this time of year, right, the days are shorter. It's darker in the morning, it's colder in the morning, and your window to paint is shorter because you need the surface temperature of the home to be ready at those temperatures, not the air temperature. So maybe it's 45 or 50 degrees outside now, but it went down to 30 or 25 last night. The surface temperature of the home is probably in the low 30s and needs that great Colorado sunshine to warm it up. So we may not start painting till 10 or 11 o'clock, and then we have to quit and get cleaned up by 3:34 because the sun's going down.
Well, lots of different things to think about. Well, Scott, this has been very informative. I know people that listen to this are going to have questions for you. What is the best way that someone can get in contact with you? Your website, phone number, email, whatever you want to share.
Website is our best, easiest access point for questions. And it's brushstrokespainting.biz, B-I-Z. And that's one of the quickest ways for an inquiry or a quick question. Our office phone number is 720-398-9689. And that also is forwarded to me when I'm not in the office, so I can pick it up on my cell phone and get back to people right away. So those are probably the two best points of contact for our company.
Excellent. Well, we've been listening to Scott Bergman, who is the founder and president of Brushstrokes Painting in Denver, Colorado. Scott, thank you very much for being my guest on the Trust Factor Radio today.
Thanks, Neil. It was really enjoyable. I appreciate you having us on.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to the Trust Factor Radio with Neil Howe. To learn about the resources mentioned in the show and to listen to past episodes, go to thetrustfactorradio.com. To get a copy of the book, The Trust Factor, go to thetrustfactorbook.com. If you are ready to act now and build your authority, credibility, and trust, schedule a consultation with Neil at theauthorityarchitect.com.